Believe it or not, but this is a tiny portable gaming PC called the ROG Ally, and more importantly, it's got good performance and a 1080p 120Hz touchscreen on it. It's made by ASUS and it's one of the coolest devices that I've ever tested. And whilst I'm obviously not a tech channel and I don't do this sort of video regularly, when ASUS emailed me and asked if I would like to make a sponsored video on it, after learning about what it was capable of, I was 100% on board. So a big thanks to them for hooking me up. This won't be the sort of video where I go over the design, the benchmarks, the detailed info on the specs. There's plenty of other channels out there that will do a much better job than I could. But I'm much more interested in what gaming is actually like on it and the kind of frames per second that you can get. Also the different usage scenarios that are offered here. To start with, this runs Windows 11. So anything that you can install on Windows, you can install on this. Steam, EA Play, Epic, Battle.net, Xbox, any photo or video editing software, you could put that on here. In terms of specs, it uses a brand new AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor and RDNA 3 graphics. 16 gig of 6400 MHz LPDDR5 DRAM and a PCIe Gen 4 SSD with 256 gig or 512 gig options. You can replace them too if you want, open it up. And the 512 gig option of the Ally in this video costs $699 or £699. In terms of its size, this is what it looks like compared to a Nintendo Switch. A bit bigger, a bit thicker. I thought that most people watching this video would have a Nintendo Switch or know someone that had one, so that's the kind of space that it will take up. It's your standard Xbox controller layout, plus you get paddle buttons on the back, which is very useful, and you can customize what all of the buttons do. Also, it weighs 608 grams. It comes with this charger or power pack by default, or you can get this one at an extra cost that lets you connect more USB devices or hook it up to a TV via HDMI. What do games actually run like then? Well, it's worth noting that you can set different profiles for balancing performance with power consumption and battery life. With most of the games that I tested, I had it plugged in. But here are some games running on battery with turbo mode enabled using an Xbox controller over Bluetooth. So this is one of the first games that I tested, Forza Horizon 5 with the high preset, 1080p on the intro section of the game, and we're hitting over 60 FPS consistently here. Now when I loaded this up for the first time, that really surprised me, but we'll get into this a bit more now. Halo 3 from the Master Chief Collection with the enhanced preset at 1080p, 70 to 90 FPS when in a battle on the opening level, and I did see it hitting 120 FPS in the quieter sections too, when there wasn't as much going on. Have you got a long flight ahead? You know, you could just play through Halo 3 to burn some time. How cool is this? Sea of Thieves, very popular game. And here running on the common preset at 1080p, walking around one of the towns, 40 to 60 FPS if you fancy some swashbuckling on the go. But that's the kind of performance you could expect on those settings if you don't have it plugged in. I also tested 3D Mark Time Spy when plugged in and on battery with turbo mode, and we scored 3164 when plugged in and 2994 on battery. I know that a lot of people would ask for those scores, so there you go. Now then, obviously, performance so far pretty impressive for such a small device, but I wanted to really push this and see what it could do with some of the games that I play regularly. Battlefield and Modern Warfare 2. What about Warzone 2? So the way that I had the Ally set up here was plugged into the charger with the extra outputs, and then I attached a USB dock to that and plugged in my mouse and keyboard. So it's really feeling like a gaming PC now. And we're going to start with Modern Warfare 2, 1080p, everything on low settings. I loaded up Shipment with bots, and we're getting around 60 FPS average here, running around gleefully murdering the AI. I'll be the first to go when the war against the machines begins. They won't forget. I tested the MW2 Benchmark 2 with these same settings, and we averaged 58 FPS. Warzone 2, why not? Just wandering around Al Mazrah in a quiet area here. We're getting around 50 FPS average. Now, the cool thing about screens this small is the 720p resolution still looks pretty good. So that's an option for games too if you want more performance. So I dropped the res to 720p, same conditions, and we're hitting 85 to 100 FPS now. So that's a bit smoother if you want those extra frames. Battlefield 2042 next. This is the game that I play a lot on my gaming PC, but how does it stack up here? 1080p, all low settings. I loaded up another game against bots here. We're looking at around 52 FPS average here, running around, driving around, having a great time. And now we drop the res down to 720 and we start to push into the 70 to 80 FPS bracket. It's a bit smoother, still looks good. Still murdering the bots. I'm so dead in real life. Fortnite, why not? Lots of people play Fortnite. 1080p with the performance option here for the absolute tryhards amongst us, and we're somewhere between 100 to 120 FPS at this barn area, which is pretty crazy really. And I wanted to see what this would be like with higher graphics on the medium preset, and we're looking at 60 FPS. As you can see, I don't know how to play Fortnite at all. I'm very sorry. CSGO then, well, I'm using a mouse and keyboard, why not? This game just hit its peak player record, and CS2 is out soon. It's going to be huge. Valve games typically run well too, so let's have a look. And this was at 1080p on the high preset. I put netgraph on to show the FPS in the bottom right on Dust 2 Deathmatch. I couldn't get Afterburner to hook in, but we're getting about 100 to 140 FPS here, which is super smooth, and you could definitely play competitively like this, especially if you hooked it up to a bigger monitor or TV. Elden Ring, this would be a good one for a train ride home, I reckon. Maybe you could finally beat Millennia on the 515 to London Euston. And mixing things up here, I went for 720p with the maximum graphics preset. So the game looks good like this. And as you can see, we're in the starting area of Limgrave. We're scoring like 30 to 40 FPS on maximum graphics. Pretty spicy. Of course, different scenario, you could drop it all down to low if you wanted to, looking like this, to get something closer to that 60 FPS experience. I think what's awesome about this device though is that you've got options, so it's all about preference. How about another racing game, Need for Speed Unbound? This one released recently, downloaded it on EA Play, installed it, and we're running here at 1080p on the medium preset, and we're hitting like 45 to 60 FPS depending on what's happening on the screen or how badly I'm driving. I'm not good at racing games. So what I've shown you so far are a lot of modern games that many people are still playing, and those games are still being supported. But I think with a device like this, a lot of users will go back and play some of the older titles, perhaps in their back catalogs that they've missed. And based on what I've seen here, I reckon performance on older titles will be good. And I wanted to test this, so I thought, what would be a good one? Battlefront 2. You know, it's a game from 2017, very well optimized. So I loaded up a level from the single player on Endor, and this is running at native 1080p on the high preset. 55 to 60 FPS. This looks amazing. It's just so cool, generally speaking, that this type of performance and graphics is possible on a portable device nowadays. Something so small. I don't want this to go on for too long, so I'm going to wrap up here. Some other stuff that's interesting. You've got a command center button on the left that lets you quickly change a few things like RSR, resolution, refresh rate, frame lock, etc. You can change the RGB lights on it from the Armory Crate software, make game profiles and stuff. The speakers sound pretty good. Dolby Atmos supported too. It's got a 3.5mm audio jack if you wanted to plug in some headphones. You can also Bluetooth earphones and headphones too. There's a micro SD slot too if you want to get more storage space in there. And it's XG Mobile compatible, which provides extra gaming power with an external GPU if you want to do that. And it will give you a couple more IO expansion options. I didn't have that to test, so I can't comment on that at all. And you know what, that's all I've got for you. Do let me know your thoughts below, and a big thanks to ASUS again for sponsoring this one and let me check out the Ally. I'm sure that they're going to ask me to put a link in the description below too if you want to check it out for yourself, so look out for that if it's down there. Drop a like to help support me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.